He walked into a church, and the nuns ran, not because of the scene, not because of the script, because Clancy Brown had spent months becoming something the camera couldn't fully contain. But here's what nobody tells you. The Kurgan didn't start as a monster. He started as a baby, nameless, left in a river to drown. And the comic book, the one the studio buried, shows you exactly what it takes to turn an abandoned child into the most dangerous immortal who ever lived. 3,000 years of violence. And it all started with a dog pit. Stay with me. The story begins with a child, caked in mud, and a cry at the shallows of a flooded river. A woman named Ura spots him first. She looks at her husband with that expression every mother knows. And Grig, the man who is about to make the worst decision of his life, looks at this screaming, filthy, nameless infant and delivers the first line that tells you everything about what's coming. He's noisy, and he stinks. He takes the boy in anyway. And here is the first thing the movie never told you, a detail that changes everything. Kurgan is not his name. It was never his name. It's the name of the tribe that found him, a nomadic warrior people. Grig never warms to him, not even slightly. He sees something in those eyes that the other children don't have. Something still, something watching. I don't like the weakness I see every time I look in your shifty little eyes. The boy doesn't cry, doesn't apologize, doesn't look away. I'm not weak, I can show you. And Grig decides, right then, to take him up on that offer. What happens next is the moment this child stops being a boy and becomes something else entirely. Grig takes him to a fighting pit. Not a training ground, not a sparring circle, a pit. Stone walls, firelight. A crowd of men who came specifically to watch something fall. And Grig throws the boy in against a war dog. The crowd doesn't even pretend to root for the child. They're cheering for the animal. The dog charges, gets its jaws around the boy's arm, and holds on. The boy screams, and then the comic does something the movie could never do. The boy's face. The expression there is not fear. It's not pain anymore either. It's something worse. Something empty and focused and cold. The boy picks up a wooden club with his free hand. And he doesn't stop until it's over. The crowd goes silent for exactly 1 second. Then they lose their minds. He's a warrior! You were right. The Kurgan warrior boy. Grig watches. He doesn't celebrate, doesn't smile. Because what he just witnessed wasn't a child surviving. It was a child discovering what it enjoys. That's a very different thing. And somewhere deep in his gut, Grig knows it. That night, Grig makes a decision. Not about the boy's future, about ending it. He's going to take the boy into the forest, alone, and make sure he doesn't come back. They ride out together under the stars, just the two of them. The boy has no idea. He's still riding the high from the pit. He looks up at Grig and asks, genuinely, excitedly, "Will we do that again?" Grig's answer is a single blow, meant to be the last. The body drops, struck into silence. Then, he comes back, not gasping, not dramatic, just quietly reassembling. The wound closes. The boy sits up, alone, watching the first light of morning hit the tree line. And he understands. He follows the trail, finds Grig, empty, patient expression. The boy speaks first, quietly, almost gently. "You should have made sure I was gone." That's where Grig's story ends, by the river. The same water where he found the boy all those years ago. When he returns to camp alone, Ura rushes out. Where? Where is Grig? The boy doesn't blink. A bear came and took him in the night. I hunger. What's for supper? He stays with Ura for years, and eventually he leaves her behind. Not cruelly, not violently. He just walks away one morning. Because that's what predators do when the territory runs out. He falls in with a band of thieves working the roads between India and the Mediterranean. Caravan raiders, ambush specialists, and here's where it gets interesting. Because even in this company, something is off. The other thieves want gold, horses, comfort, the usual prizes. He watches their leader instead, studies how men follow orders, studies what makes one man afraid of another. He starts taking more than his share, not because he needs it, because no one stops him. He doesn't want to rob caravans. He wants to be the reason whole roads go silent when his name is spoken. And then, during one ambush that goes wrong, a sword finds him. He goes down, wounded in the desert dirt. The next man to find him standing over a corpse already knew exactly who he was and what he would become. His name is Saif al-Rashid, and he already knows exactly what the Kurgan is. Because Saif al-Rashid is the same thing. Saif is everything the Kurgan isn't. Yet, he has a palace in Israel. Marble courtyards, libraries, guards who don't ask questions. He's disciplined, patient. He's been playing the game for longer than most civilizations have existed. And he sees in the Kurgan something worth cultivating. He brings him in, shows him a room full of weapons and artifacts and scrolls. Things earned in fire, he says, not by mortal hand. Do you hunger for power? The Kurgan looks around the room, looks back at him. Hunger? No, I'm starved for it. And so the education begins. Saif explains the game, the real game. Not the street-level predation the Kurgan has been running, the actual cosmic structure underneath it all. He lays out the rules. And this is the part the movie only ever whispered: the immortals that walk the earth will fight until there is only one left standing. The game is the center of our world, the quest for the final prize, our driving force. You must engage your foes with honor, one against one, and never on holy ground. In the end, there can be only one. Month after month, Saif trains him. Sword work, strategy, patience, the hardest lesson for a man who has never needed to wait for anything. Then one night, Saif calls him in with a warning. He's describing Connor MacLeod, centuries before MacLeod's clan exists, before Scotland is Scotland. Saif has seen the end game, and it ends with the Kurgan facing one specific man. The Kurgan absorbs all of it. Then Saif tells him the last thing a teacher ever says to a student. He sleeps, but he doesn't wait for dawn. In the dark, before the first light, the student makes his choice. The comic gives this a full page. Almost no words. A bedroom, one candle burning, a blade catching the light as it moves across the room. A single strike. Saif al-Rashid, the man who pulled him from the gutter, gave him a name for what he was, taught him the rules of a game that spans millennia, and called him my friend, will never see morning. Because the lesson was over. Because Saif was no longer useful. Because above everything Saif taught him, one rule stuck deepest. There can be only one. The quickening detonates. Lightning tears through the palace walls. Guards come running. The whole building starts to burn. And in the center of it all, sword in hand, fire at his back, Saif's millennia of power flooding into him, he thinks the last thought the comic gives us. I am the one. Now you know what those nuns felt. Brown said he wasn't doing anything unusual, just staying in character. And now that you know the story, the flood, the pit, Saif's bedroom, you know exactly what those women sensed when he walked through that door. It wasn't performance. It was 3,000 years wearing a costume. Drop a comment. Did the comic change how you see the Kurgan? Hit the like if this verdict landed. Subscribe. The next case is already open. There can be only one.